Hi, what's up, guys? Welcome back to another interesting episode on the show Behind the Scenes in Health with Dr. Ron. And on today's episode, I'll be talking about an interesting topic about why doctors die younger than the general population. So I actually saw an article or a paper recently that tried to talk about it, but there was no conclusive evidence anyway as to if doctors actually died earlier than the general population. So that's what I'll be talking about in these episodes. So if you're interested in that, stick around to the end. Hi everyone. If you're new here, my name is Ronald, a medical doctor, health informatician, and this is where I hang out most of the time, putting out great content. I talk about healthcare, innovations, technology, alternative careers, and sometimes I interview people to come and share their experiences. So if this is generally what you're looking for, I think you're in the right place. So just pause this video, hit the subscribe button, then you can keep watching. So let's dive into the conversation. So like I said, I'm not quite sure there is a conclusive evidence to say doctors die earlier than the general population. But I'll probably say there are a lot of challenges doctors face. And not just doctors really. I'll probably extend this a little bit to the other healthcare professionals who work in the healthcare system and they face in the medical profession that might probably lead to that conclusion that doctors die earlier than every other person, right? So, and some of these things, it might trigger some people. Well, the truth has to be told. But let's look at them. So the first one is the high work stress or high stress work environment. I think that it sounds better like that, right? So doctors typically work very long hours. The other day we heard about the house officer that died, even though they've debunked the claim that he did a call in neurosurgery for 72 hours straight before he went to church and slumped, and may so rest in peace. But we all know as a case that doctors typically work very long hours. Reflecting back on when I did my house job, I know what calls were like. Even after house job, I know what those calls looks like. So it wasn't what you wish anybody really, but they work very high, long hours. We face high pressure situations. You're making life and death decisions or in split seconds for a lot of people, and any wrong decision could send a person to the other side, and all of these things lead to chronic stress and burnout. And the fact that a lot of persons are jackmine, a lot of doctors are leaving Nigeria, they are moving to other countries for greener pastures. Even in the UK, people are even leaving the UK, moving to Canada and Australia. Everybody's just constantly migrating. So what happens is, in a department where you have 15 doctors working and 10 people have left, you still have 5 persons there doing the work of 15 people. Then you imagine what the pressure is going to be like. There's no change in salary, nothing changes. And the worst part is they're not even employing to replace those who have left. Again, that's conversation for another day. So basically, the high stress work environment is a very good contributor or a great contributor to the stress clinicians are facing in the healthcare system. Now, the next point is the emotional burden, right? Every day we see patients, every day people die, every day you certify people dead. And it gets to a point where it becomes, sometimes some people say doctors are not emotional and all of that. So it gets to a point where it sort of maybe becomes routine, where your feelings become numb to all of those things. You see a lot of people who are suffering. You're carrying a lot of emotional weight of cases, bad cases, cases. Yes, this is not going to be good, or the outcomes is not looking great. That's why whatever the patient might hope for, or what the relatives are hoping for, So those are some of the serious burdens clinicians carry, and it can be very weighty for them. And what even makes it bad is most of these doctors don't even see doctors. So there is no avenue for them to sit down and talk to people, talk to a therapist, or I don't know what you call it, but that avenue is there. A lot of them don't do that, which they actually should be doing. So all of this emotional burden, takes a very serious mental toll on clinicians, whether they like it or not. Some people will say no, but they are not fine, right? So that's number 2. Number 3, you talk about neglecting personal health. Now, a lot of doctors don't practice what they preach. They tell you stop smoking, don't drink alcohol or cut down alcohol, and make sure you exercise, walk at least 30 minutes a day, brush your teeth morning and night. Which other advice has a doctor giving in the hospital? You can drop it in the comment section. 90% of them don't live by those rules, and that's really sad, because you're looking at your demanding work schedule. You run a clinic, you're doing surgeries, you're operating people, you're moving from hospital to hospital at the expense of your own health. Fine, you're trying to take care of people, but a lot of them just forget themselves in the work they are doing. So you find a lot of people, doctors being hypertensive, a lot of them are diabetic, a lot of them are obese, because most times they're always sitting down in the clinic, seeing patients, consulting, and all of that. So it really doesn't help them, and like we say as clinicians, obesity puts you at risk of things like hypertension, diabetes, and other chronic diseases, really. So they neglect their health, which is usually due to the high work stress. So that's another great contributor. Then another one is the irregular and demanding schedules. Now, most times doctor schedules are highly erratic. You can't even predict it. Find some hospital, they've got a good rota system where you actually know when you're working and when you're not working. But sometimes emergencies happen. Somebody might fall sick. Somebody needs to fill in so that things don't go wrong in the hospital, right? And this leads to erratic sleep. So a lot of doctors don't even have a good sleep pattern. Note to myself, that's even talking to you. So that puts you at risk of so many things, like what do you even call it, low immunity in your system, because you're not sleeping well, and that affects your immunity, risk of developing cardiovascular diseases, and generally affects your mood and confidence in a way too. So that's another big contributor. Now, for the fact you're working in a hospital and you're treating people too, you are exposed to illnesses. So that's what doctors are exposed to. HIV, AIDS, the different infectious diseases. For example, during COVID-19, a lot of clinicians, healthcare workers died from COVID, because they were treating COVID. So those are some of the downsides of being in the hospital environment too. And what makes it worse is a lot of clinicians work in these environments without adequate PPEs or personal protective equipment. For the fact that I'm working in an environment where I'm dealing with infectious fluids and all of that, then the least my organization can do is to provide adequate PPEs for me to work with. But we know the story in some facilities where some people are giving money to purchase PPE, but they decide they're going to put them in their pocket, or they buy PPEs, they lock them in one room and say it's only for accreditation purposes, right? But again, that's conversation for another day. So exposure to illnesses is something I think also contributes to short lifespan of doctors. Then you talk about social isolation. Interestingly, this is also another big thing that affects clinicians. So if you do a census of doctors now and check who and who they know, chances, in fact, not chances, it's only people within their circle, because a doctor practically lives in the hospital. So a lot of them are socially isolated because it's only them they are talking to most of the time. So they don't talk to outsiders like other professions. So that's why increasingly there is the advice to doctors to look outside, their circles, talk to engineers, talk to architects, talk to other professions so that you're not just within your circle. I mean, when doctors gather, it's always about exams. What is the next exam we're taking? What's the next certification we are taking? What's the next paper we are writing? Where's the next conference you are writing? So, and it becomes very, very monotonous and all of that. So, and so these are some of the reasons I think contribute to the problems doctors are facing in their workplaces and on a personal level. And it's really important that these institutions or these hospitals where doctors work need to start prioritizing their healthcare, their welfare. I mean, this is not me just talking for doctors, now I'm talking for healthcare professionals in general. Hospitals need to prioritize their well-being, implement strategies to reduce stress and burnout, and encourage healthy work-life balance really for them, because I mean, a lot of them talk about it, but they don't do it. So doctors should go for checkup, go and see your dentist, go and do that ECG, go and do that X-ray, go and do that yearly annual medical checkup that you tell people to do. I mean, you hear of doctors who slumped in the theater while operating, those are stories that you really don't want to recall. But yeah, I just thought I should share some insights as to some of the things that might lead to a doctor dying earlier than the general population. And interestingly, I think these are some of the reasons why a lot of clinicians are now beginning to look at other areas where they don't want to encounter this much stress. People are looking at health tech, alternative careers, which I talk about a lot, really. So hopefully the powers that be get to do what is right, and hopefully our doctors will keep living long for us and treating us as they should be. So that's it from me on today's episode. So let me know what you think. If there's a point I've missed, or you think something is very serious or can contribute to doctors dying, drop them in the comment section. And as usual, don't leave without subscribing to the channel to support the good work we're doing here, and so that YouTube can also share our videos with other viewers like you. And you can also share this video with your friends, colleagues, family and friends. Write a newsletter, behind the scenes in health with Dr. Ron. Why do I keep missing that? So the link is in the description, so please subscribe and you get the dose of whatever I write every month. Good stuff, really. So until I come your way next episode, I still remain your host, Dr. Ron, and like I usually say, stay safe, stay cool, and bye for now. Cheers.